Hey everybody, have a look at that desktop. Notice anything different than usual? See, did he just really put Windows 10 on his mid-tower deluxe? Well, yes I did. And we're going to have a little discussion today about it. So yeah, there's mid-tower deluxe, so you guys can see it. Yep. I upgraded it to Windows 10, and I'm seriously considering whether it was an upgrade or a downgrade. Now let's just go and discuss upgrade and update first. You know, basically you can say you can update your version of Windows to Windows 10 from Windows 7 or Windows 8.1. Well, let's not even say 8.1 because 8.1 we know is worse than 10, obviously. But let's talk about Windows 7, what this machine had. So basically it had Windows 7 Professional 64-bit, and we updated to Windows 10. I'm not going to call this really an upgrade. For a few reasons which I'll discuss here shortly. You know, let's go and talk about the good things about Windows 10, at least in my experience. This isn't my first time installing, upgrading an existing machine to Windows 10. I tried it out numerous times back during the technical preview days and the insider preview days and all that good stuff. And recently I tried it on the Dell Inspiron 1525, my laptop. That lasted roughly a week. While Windows 10 was nice, I had issues with it running slow and even had it blue screen a couple of times. And that laptop has never had issues with blue screening. As soon as I went back to Windows 7, it was good. But, I'm sure some of you guys have probably wondered how the mid-tower deluxe would run Windows 10. And, I've gotten a chance to really play around with it as my primary OS on this machine. And, as I mentioned, I got numerous things to talk about. So let's go and talk about some good things about it. One thing I like about Windows 10 is the fact that it's pretty fast at boot up and shutdown. It's pretty decent. I do like that. It also seems to run a little more snappy than Windows 7 did on this machine. Performance of some programs is a whole lot better than what they used to be. And I do like Windows 10's taskbar style. It looks really cool. The black and everything like that. It does look really cool. Now I did get rid of the search the web and Windows bar here and just turned it into this little search button. No, I did not actually enable Cortana. But that's what the taskbar looks like. Which, by the way, in Windows 10, just like Windows 8 and I believe 8.1, and I'm sure Windows 8 as well, the taskbar can go across both your displays. Let's say in a dual monitor setup. I do like having the taskbar on both displays to a point, which you can disable this if you'd like, if you prefer the classic way. I do like having the taskbar on both displays to a point. And since this was an upgrade, it carried over my existing wallpaper. Now let's talk about a few things in regards to upgrading an existing machine from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Here's a couple of funny things that I've noticed about it. What's really surprising is that some features are actually carried over from Windows 7 to Windows 10. One thing I really griped about in Windows 8.1 was the fact that the Windows 7 file recovery was really depreciated. It was barely there. It wasn't the full feature like you would have in Windows 7. But let's say you have an existing Windows 7 computer and you upgrade it to Windows 10, or say update it to Windows 10. Let's go to Control Panel and look what I've done here. Yeah, that's not the original. That is not the original Start menu. I don't like the way it opens Control Panel with the whole window. So, anyways, have a look here. Backup and restore, in parentheses, Windows 7. It says backup and restore Windows 7. Recover copies of your files backed up in Windows 7. And if I click there, you can see that the Windows 7 backup and restore appears to be fully functional. You can create a system image of your operating system. You can turn off your backup schedule, because I do have a backup schedule turned on. There's all sorts of different things you have here, and it's pretty much the same thing as Windows 7. Another thing I like is the Windows 10 Task Manager, carryover from Windows 8. I've always liked this Task Manager. It's really, really neat. lots and lots of detailed information versus Windows 7's Task Manager, which is really, an upgrade of the Windows XP Task Manager, which that Task Manager started out really in Windows 2000. Windows XP got a couple little things changed. Same goes for Vista, but it was actually changed a bit more in Windows 7, but it's still been the same thing for all these years. So it was nice to see a revised Task Manager come out in Windows 8. Same goes for the File Explorer. Like for example, here's File Explorer. They brought back this up button, which you can close the folder and go up to your previous level. That's a feature that some people, especially XP users, like to have back. I personally like the breadcrumbs thing, like this, this PC and then documents. I do like the new icons of Windows 10. They look pretty cool. Looks a little more modern, I guess, because everything is going away from the arrow style of things, which I personally like arrow better. But it's still, it's still pretty neat. And one thing I noticed, I saw online you could actually enable gadgets, but I kind of don't really know how to do it. Don't really care. Not at least not right now anyway. I do like how they've upgraded the Explorer to in Windows 8 to have all this stuff here, and they may have had a few revisions here and there in Windows 10. They did. In Windows 10 you get the quick access, things like that, which is pretty neat. You have all these extra tools and ribbon layout, sort of like how it is in Microsoft Office. It's a very, very decent File Explorer, which I've always liked it. And also, when you're transferring files, it shows a graph, a historical graph of how fast the file is transferring. So let's say it's traveling fast. The transfer speed is high here, but let's say it slows down. You'll see it go down, and it's like the status bar except with the graph added to it. I've always really liked that design. It's better than the Windows 7 style. There's a lot of things about Windows 10 that I do like. A lot of nice features that were added in, and some things I carried from Windows 8. Windows 8 has always had a nice kernel. It's always been, very stable, very fast, very snappy. Things just seem more responsive in a way. This is Google Earth opening. Now, to be expected, with this machine's hardware, everything should be snappy. We got a AMD FX 8120 overclocked to 4.2 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM, and the OS is actually on a 240 gig solid state drive. You kind of expect it to be a bit snappy, and it is. I like it. Overall, Windows 10 is nice, but there's some things that I don't personally like about it. So let's go and talk about what actually, got me into even thinking about doing this update, from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Basically, if you look online, there's articles about Windows Media Center and Windows 10. There's a way you can get it back. Typing with one hand. There's always different sites that talk about how to get Windows Media Center running in Windows 10 in a few easy steps. Now let me tell you this, guys, it's easier said than done. You would think you get this, do these few simple steps and you have your full featured Windows Media Center back, but it's not fully functional. It's kind of half-baked. It's really the Windows 8 8.1 Media Center. That's really all it is. It's just the Windows 8.1 Media Center. And and I'm not just referring to it being the Windows 8.1 Media Center being the only issue. There's more to it. There's more to that. Let's open it and show you. Turn on my speaker so you can hear. So yeah, this is Windows Media Center. Now let me go ahead and show you guys a few issues. Let's say I want to set up live TV. Go through the typical setup process. Whoa, what happened here? Download failure. The new TV setup data could not be downloaded. The existing data, if available, will be used as you continue through TV signal setup. Okay, that's not good. Internet's fine. Downloadable guide not available. Downloadable TV program guide listings are not available due to previous downloading failures. For more information, right-click the Windows Media Center system tray icon and open the Windows Media Center update log. Select back to try again. Okay. Well, you can open Media Center here, but see, it's trying to update on its own. Questionable whether it's actually working or not. Okay, that is actually a different issue. My TV storage drive, I think, is starting to fail. Anyways, a lot of times if you click this, if you click the button for Media Center update, it'll tell you what it's doing. It'll say something like it's downloading guide update, or whatever, but it doesn't do that. And yes, the process MC update is in fact running. Let's choose next. Cancel this. I do actually cancel automatic signal examination because I have to manually set it up, because I normally use a Seton tuner, and I do happen to have an extra TV tuner capture card in this for capturing off the VCR, and I don't use that. Oh, it's nice lightning outside. Anyways, we'll cancel and let's do manual. Say cable. Next. Whoa. The following TV signals will be configured for Windows Media Center. Digital cable, clear QEM, one tuner. That's the internal card that's not even being used. That's a problem. The actual tuner it's supposed to use is one of the tuners off the Seton Infinity V6 over in the Blackmax. It's a network tuner. And that's another thing, is it's kind of hit or miss on whether Windows 8.1 Media Center supports network tuners of Seton. That's another thing I don't like. Not to mention, with the Windows 8 Media Center, you're restricted to use of only Microsoft extenders, such as the Xbox 360. And of course, we know the Xbox One, which was designed after the time that Microsoft's ultimate goal was to kill Media Center. Obviously, it doesn't support being an extender. We'll come back to that shortly. Say next to confirm. Which actually, whatever, just get out of that. That's just one example of Media Center not quite working. So, you see all these articles online about how you can get Windows Media Center back in Windows 10. Don't even waste your time with it. Just don't do it. I did this update to Windows 10, figuring maybe it'd work. But unfortunately, it does not. It's useless. I did have plans for Media Center, this alternative. I thought about replacing that old display there with a new widescreen LCD monitor with full HDMI support, audio support included. Plan on using that and a Seton Echo extender, which I already have in possession. Initially planned on this, tying that in with the living room TV box to still get Media Center in here somehow, because Windows 10 says Media Center is useless, you can't have your computer do it. So, I initially had an alternative plan for Media Center, which, I kind of, I didn't really care too much for, but it was still a plan. So, let's talk about Media Center just a little bit more before I move on. Microsoft's ultimate idea is to kill Media Center, so that way they can try to, talk to their existing users and to say, hey, you can buy our Xbox One. That's our new way of getting our services to your living room. Back in the day, Windows Media Center was the way that Microsoft planned on getting the PC into the living room, and in some ways it was successful. There's a lot of Media Center enthusiasts out there that have replaced their DVRs and boxes with Windows Media Center PCs. And an increasing number of users are users who are replacing their digital set-top boxes with the increasing amount of digital cable card tuners on the market. So, there's all these alternatives you can look up. Like, for example, let's pull up one of these articles. Here we go, alternative. So all these alternatives to Windows Media Center. The modern apps, Netflix. Yeah, you know, Netflix is built into Media Center, but look, XBMC, Plex, Media Portal, Movida, whatever you call it. You know, all of these little applications here are about as useful to me as a snowplow on a hot summer day. Let me explain why. All of these will not work with cable card tuners, digital cable tuners. No, they're useless. That's because none of them are certified by Cable Labs for the playback of protected cable content. Windows Media Center and only Windows Media Center is Cable Labs certified. Yes, Cable Labs certified for the playback of digital protected cable content. All of these they might as well not even exist, in my opinion, for my, you know, in regards to my use. They might be great for the streaming media and things like that, but I've even heard that setting these up with over-the-air TV is like a real pain. So, that aside, don't even bother mentioning these alternatives, because in a situation like mine where I use digital cable with a cable card, there are no alternatives besides going back to using a DVR box through Time Warner Cable or using a TiViBox. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that aside, let's go and talk about something else now. You know, now I mentioned Media Center was being, you know, discontinued in favor of the Xbox One. That's really, I think, why they're quitting on Media Center. You know, in some of the preview builds of Windows 10, and even in earlier, you know, plans for Windows 10, it was planning on being a professional version of 10 with Media Center, but they decided to scrap it, say, oh, Media Center's dead, nobody uses it anymore. And, oh, actually, no. A lot of people use it for DVD playback. Yeah, I'm not going to spend $14.99 on a DVD player when I can use VLC for the same thing. In reality, Media Center users do more than play DVDs. Okay, enough rant about Media Center. Let's go and talk about the other things. You know, as I was mentioning earlier, I did have a plan, an alternative plan, to keep Media Center in this room. You know, I was using, you know, I actually did some testing last night. I used a Seaton Echo on a different monitor with HDMI inputs, and it worked quite well. You know, my plan was to put a bigger monitor in here, a newer monitor with HDMI input, and use it as a TV. Or a monitor when needed for like servicing computers and things like that. But anyways, that's that. So, let's talk about the other things that I don't really like about Windows 10. So anyways, there's a couple of things about Windows 10 that I don't like besides Media Center. When, you know, not long after I initially installed this, which has been on here for 2 days by the way, I noticed that some things were not working properly. Like the jump list in File Explorer. I could click and let's see, it wouldn't do anything, but now it actually works. That was because one of the programs I've been using for the past about 6 or 7 years, you know, AlZip, a nice file extraction utility, was breaking the functionality. Even the latest version of AlZip broke the functionality, so I had to uninstall it. Now, Universal Extractor still works, but for, you know, for general extraction stuff, I still prefer AlZip. It's just a simple to use program. Now, let's take a look at this. Here's something else in Windows 10. You know, let's say I want to go to, you know, videos. Instead of taking me direct to my videos library, which is, you know, libraries are something that had sort of been faded out a bit. You know, there's still, the functionality is still there, actually, but it's not as in your face as it is in Windows 7. You know, instead of going straight to my videos, it just takes me to this shortcut. Actually, take that back. It's taking me to my C drive. Well, videos. So that's actually the shortcut to my actual videos folder. So it is actually disregarding some of the libraries in my setup here, because the data is not on C, it's on drive F. It's not on my solid state. It's not on my little bitty solid state drive. It's on a big. It's on 4 terabytes of a RAID 0 stripe setup. So, you know, I had in Windows 7 I had the library set up appropriately for that. So, but let's say I want to go to pictures. There's all these other things I don't need, like camera roll. I don't have any use for that folder. Or save pictures. No use for it. So let's delete it. Let's delete them both. Now let's try this again. Now I'm sure as soon as I open the Photos app, they'll pop right back up, because they have actually popped up, you know, in the past. They do come back on their own eventually. So in reality, what those, and let's see, let's do music as well. Why not? If I have a shortcut to it here, I may not. Okay, let's just manually navigate it to it. And notice this, the start menu. That is not the Windows 10 start menu. Let's go to C, Users, Nick, Pictures. Yeah, it's essentially these shortcuts here that were working fine in Windows 7 are now just pointing to my C drive. That's real nice. If it wasn't for me already having these shortcuts in these folders, they would just point to the wrong folder, and I'd have to manually open up a computer and just manually navigate to those folders. We're not done yet, guys. No, we're not done. Now, in Windows 10, they brought back the start menu, but they sort of brought it back in a way. It's not as useful as the Windows 7 start menu. They basically, here we go. That's the actual Windows 10 start menu. All these little kitty tiles I don't have any use for. Yes, I call them kitty tiles. I'm sorry if that offends you guys, any of you guys. I'm sorry, but to me, they're kitty tiles. They're useless. I have no use for them. They're just, you know. And here's the Photos app. Let's go ahead and open it. So there's the Photos app. Now let's go back to Pictures. Let's see. Oh look, those folders are back. And yeah, let's look at this Photos app. This is this is something that replaces Windows Photo Viewer in Windows 7 and I believe Windows 8, maybe 8.1 as well. When you insert a SD card or any sort of camera card and you want to import some photos, you have very limited options. And people in Windows, I think 8.1, have complained about this too. You know, a lot of these apps, you know, these phone apps as you can call them, they're like half-baked. Let's say I want, you know, by default, when I try to import photos using this, it wants to drop them into my C drive. I don't want data on my solid state. I want data on my data drive, the F drive, not the C drive. So let's say I want to change that. You know, I have settings for viewing and editing, link duplicates, titles, and information about the app. We have sources, and you can see it did, you know, as I mentioned, it carried over a few things from the existing libraries from Windows 7. Like, that's the library for pictures. But where is the settings here for importing stuff? Okay, let's go and insert a card. Let's see, a memory card. I'm not sure if there's anything on this. Let's insert it to activate autoplay. Okay, now by default, I set Windows Live Photo Gallery to import things, because this has sort of close functionality to the Windows 7 Import Photos and Videos wizard. So let's just go ahead and change the defaults. So let's go to Control Panel, Autoplay, and let's see, memory card. I'm going to set that to import photos and videos and use the stupid Photos app. Actually, I'm going to say ask me every time. That's really the default. So, even though there's nothing on this card, let's reinsert it. And this is going to set the default to import photos and videos again. Now, there's no simple import pictures and videos wizard built into the File Explorer like there is in 7. That's missing. So, the next best thing, I guess, will be Photos. It opens this stupid app, and it says choose a device to import from. Well, there's nothing new to import, but basically it would ask you, it would show you some files to import, and the only option it will give you is to import them to pictures. You couldn't change it. You could not change it. It says import to pictures. Yeah, you can't really customize this, and that's a real bummer. So yeah, I'm already sacrificing the ability to simply import photos and videos to where I want them to go. In the Windows 7 import pictures and videos wizard, I simply have it set to import photos to one folder and videos to another folder. And no, they're not just pictures, to my pictures and my videos folder. I have specific locations that I put this stuff, and I can't configure that in Windows 10. And in the Windows Live Photo Gallery, I can configure it to go to a certain folder, but it doesn't differentiate between photos and videos. It just throws them onto the same folder, and that's something I don't like. I don't like it at all. So we've already lost some functionality there. Now let's go back to the start menu. Let's go and pull up the actual start menu. We have all these kiddy tiles here, but and it has most used apps here. We'll call it apps as they call it in Windows 10. File Explorer, you have some pinned items here, and things like control panel and other things like that are simply just not there. It puts settings there because settings is practically the modern control panel. Something that has about 50% of the functionality of the actual control panel. And you can just look up articles on this. There are certain things you cannot do with this. You have to use control panel. But if you want to use control panel, you have to search for it. Let's go to the actual Windows 10 start menu. Okay. Let's see. Control panel. And it considers that an app. It considers that an app. So this is what I was having to do initially just to get the control panel. I much prefer this style of start menu. It's just so much more useful. The one in Windows Vista and Windows 7, they pretty much nailed the start menu. It did, they pretty much nailed the usefulness of the start menu. Made it really nice. In Windows 8, they took it away. Windows 8.1, they said, we'll give you a little bit back. We'll give you a start button back. Windows 10, okay, we'll give you the actual, shape of a start menu back and give you some features of the start menu, but we're going to throw those kitty tiles in your face as well. So yeah, and this is the other thing. I had to install a third-party app just to get the original useful start menu back. So we've already had to uninstall an app to make this feature work. Had to uninstall that when it's already taken me to the wrong folder. So on the C drive, not the F drive, where it's supposed to go. I had to uninstall AlZip to make this functionality somewhat work. I had to install a third-party program from Classic Shell to get a useful start menu back. I had to use Photo Gallery, which I don't really care too much for Photo Gallery for importing pictures and videos. I attempted to get Media Center back into Windows 10, but really to get Media Center back, it would cost you $130 for a monitor and another $100 to $150 for a Seat and Echo extender to use off another Windows 7 computer, provided you have one. So all these things there's all these things that I'm having to compromise for. Why would this be an upgrade when I'm having to compromise all these things that I used to have in Windows 7? I'm having to install all these third-party apps, having to uninstall apps like AlZip, which I've used for the past 5 or 6 years. It's the concept of upgrade just starts to fade away. And you're thinking, looking back in the days of Windows 7 and saying, this is so much more useful. I mean, really. And I haven't even talked about Windows updates yet. Windows 10 pretty much says updates are automatically available. We're going to install them, and you can schedule a time to restart, or we'll just restart it for you. That's especially common in the home version. At least in Pro, at least in Windows 10 Pro, you can defer updates. You can defer upgrades and things like that, but it's not. It's not. You don't have the advanced options that you have in Windows 7 or even Windows 8. Windows 8, they started to take away some of the stuff, but it's not nearly as as a leap as it is Windows 10. So anyways, that's that. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're losing functionality here. Media Center being the biggest part, that angers me. No Windows Media Center here. And they actually do warn you that if you use Windows Media Center Windows 7, it will warn you when you try to upgrade to Windows 10 that you're going to lose Media Center. And unfortunately, I know some people have tried desperately to get it back. It does open and run, but you can't really set up TV. And even if you can, you don't get the guide data like you're supposed to. And I even heard things like scheduled recordings don't work. It doesn't seem to be working okay with digital protected cable. It doesn't seem to want to activate with digital cable. It's not seeing my Seaton tuners like it's supposed to. And you're thinking, it just worked fine in Windows 7. Why do we have to do all these modifications to make it work in Windows 10? It's a heck of a lot easier to just rip out the Windows 7 DVD and install Windows 7. Which we're not going to have to. We're not going to have to do that to upgrade back to Windows 7 on this machine here. And I'm sure somebody is going to post in the comments saying it's not a. They're going to say downgrade, idiot. Well, actually, no. It's an upgrade because when you go back to Windows 7 from Windows 10. Although you lose some features, like some of the newer features, like the newer Task Manager and the newer Explorer, newer DirectX and a couple of things like that, but you're getting back some features that you had, like the Windows Media Center, your regular Windows games, your gadgets. There's so many things. And I know this is over 30 minutes now. I figured it would get to be a pretty long video. So that being stated, I've been thinking about. I stayed up pretty late last night trying to figure this thing out. And when I went to bed, I was like, it'd be so much easier just to go back to Windows 7. So before we go back to Windows 7, I just want to talk about one more thing. They offer this as a free upgrade. If you opt to upgrade to Windows 10, update to Windows 10 before June of 2016, it will be free. Well, in reality, at least in my case, no, it's not free. I've lost some functionality. I've lost the ability to simply import my photos and videos off my SD cards from my cameras. You can still do it in Windows 10, but you don't have the advanced functionality that you used to have in Windows 7. And, aside from the loss of functionality, there's a price that I would have to pay. Let's say I did not have a Seaton Echo. I had to spend probably $150, $200 on a Seaton Echo. Mine was actually $100 when I bought it. Plus another $120 for a display for that Seaton Echo, whether it be a flat screen TV or a flat panel monitor. So in reality, it would cost me well over $250 to upgrade to Windows 10 in my case, because Windows 10, as I mentioned, again, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit. Cannot import pictures and videos with all the advanced features that I had. File Explorer doesn't work properly until I uninstall the common AlZip app that I've used for the past 6 years. Windows 10 cannot even make use of a hardware setup that's valued at over $200. The Seaton Infinity TV tuner, digital cable tuner. What good is that when there's no Windows Media Center on this operating system to access it? Things like that. So in reality, even when you're not having to pay for the operating system, you're having to pay for other things to work around the upgrade. You have to make compromises, have to install third-party apps to get certain features back, have to buy third-party hardware to get Windows Media Center back in this room, things like that. So, that being said, let's go ahead and upgrade back to Windows 7. Let's go ahead and close out my programs, and I'm going to show you guys. Let's see if you did the upgrade yourself update to Windows 10. And you want to go back to Windows 7. So you click on go into your start menu, and I'm sure you the Windows 10 start menu because it's probably what you have unless you installed Classic Shell like I did. You'll go to Settings, Update and Security, I think it is, Recovery. Go back to Windows 7. Yeah, and you better do it quick because it's only there for like 30 days. Otherwise, you better rip out that Windows 7 CD or DVD. Let's get started. Better not take too long. I've already wasted enough time trying to figure this operating system out. Okay, so they're asking for some feedback here. This is a good opportunity to go ahead and give them feedback. It says, why are you going back? Why are you leaving Windows 10? Okay, we'll fill this out. Check, check, and check. My apps or devices don't work in Windows 10. Well, yeah, you know, I can't use my common AlZip app that I've used for many, many years, unless I want to lose the jump list feature in File Explorer from the taskbar. So yeah, that's one thing. And the lack of Windows Media Center means I can't use my Seat Infinity V6 tuner like I've always used for a while. You know, this computer is configured for Windows Media Center. That's why there's an extra hard drive in there. You know, I have 4 hard drives in there, plus a solid state. Solid state is for the operating system. The uppermost hard drive is a 4 terabyte backup for my data, RAID stripe, which is 2 drives below that. And the bottommost hard drive is a 2 terabyte DVR storage drive, specifically for Windows Media Center DVR recordings, TV recordings. So, my apps or devices don't work in Windows 10? Correct. Windows 7 seems easier to use. Definitely. Windows 7 start menu is so much more user intuitive, and no, I'm not just trying to. It's not because that it's been around forever, which, you know, it is in a way, but, you know, I can adapt to things. But when you have less functionality in the new start menu, yes, the Windows 7 start menu is easier to use. Of course it is. So we had to install a third-party app there to get things to work, and when you're having to make all these compromises, you know, like having to use third-party software to import your pictures and videos, when, you know, the functionality was simply there in Windows 7's Explorer, yeah, that's another way Windows 7 was easier to use. Now, Windows 10, I do have to say, was a little bit faster on this machine, so I am leaving that unchecked. Windows 10, I haven't really used it long enough. Now, on the Mid-Tower Deluxe, it's more reliable. But the Dell Inspiron 1525, I had several blue screens, and it just, you know, I've had a few cases where it froze, blue screen, things like that, and it may have been related to drivers, but it just didn't seem, it just seemed pretty flaky on the Inspiron 1525. So in that case, yeah, Windows 7 would be more reliable. Now for another reason. Well, you know, it's kind of a combination of the uppermost 2 reasons, but, you know, it's kind of things that are in between. And here's the thing we can tell us more. Now, I'm not the best typing expert, even though I'm into computers, but I'm not the best typer, so just bear with me. Let's see here. Just see, I could go on and on and on. Let's just think of some other things. I mean, I'm gonna give it to him. Seriously, I'm gonna give it to him. Oh, look, we hit a snag. So I guess we've run out. I guess we've run out of space here. Yeah. I mean, you know, max out the tell us more thing. That's very nice. Just max it out. You know, it did let us specify quite a good bit. But really, there's more. There's more there that I could specify on, you know. There's more that I could specify, to be honest with you. Now, I'm not sure how well this is showing up on the video camera. Next. It says, what you need to know. This might take a while, and you won't be able to use your PC until it's done. Leave your PC plugged in and turned on. After going back, you'll have to reinstall some programs. You know, it's basically, you know, it's basically rolling back to how Windows 7 was prior to the upgrade to Windows 10, or I'm sorry, update to Windows 10. See, you'll lose any changes made to settings after the upgrade to Windows 10. You know, is exactly what I had just said. Are your files backed up? Yes, they're on a separate. They are actually backed up. They're on a separate drive. See, next. Don't get logged out. I didn't have a password to sign in anyway. See, next. Thanks for trying Windows 10. If you end up missing improved search, security, and startup, come back to Windows 10 anytime. Well. I think I'm going to be sticking with Windows 7 for quite some time. Probably till 2020. Let's go back. Bye-bye, Windows 10. Nice knowing you. And the improved features of Windows 7 are coming back to the Mid-Tower Lux. And I'll have, you know, the Windows Media Center and things like that back. You know, Windows 7 is really the Windows XP of this decade. You know, Windows XP pretty much rocked the whole, most of the decade, of, you know, previous decade. Windows 7 came out in 2009, so it was right near the end of the previous decade. And even then, Windows XP still had the most usage share. Windows 7 overtook it during this decade. Sort of like, I guess you can say, Windows XP taking over like Windows 98 and things like that during a certain time. And of course, Windows 8 was the new Vista. And it seemed like Windows 10 is sort of like an update to Vista. Now, you know, with actual Windows Vista, the 2007 Windows Vista, Windows Vista was really plagued with slow performance and things like that. It was highly useful. Had lots of new features that I liked. You know, I upgraded Windows Vista roughly a year after it came out, and then Windows 7 came out, upgraded to it not long afterwards, and I've been with Windows 7 for, you know, many years now. I've been with Windows 7 since the beginning of 2010. It's funny how I actually started Registry Editor and Windows Update upon login. So, now to finalize this and get rid of that stupid little Windows 10 icon, you know, I did a video on this a while back, but go to Control Panel, Programs and Features, turn Windows, actually no, View Install Updates, and search for the update KB 3035583. Now everything is still loading, so it might take this a little bit more time than usual. There it is. Uninstall. Yes, uninstall for sure. and you just restart the computer, and that little Windows 10 icon will disappear. So anyways, I know this is probably maybe close to an hour long, but hope you guys enjoyed this video. And this is my honest opinions on Windows 10. You know, you can't be more honest than that. I've used it for several days, and as I figured, I'd end up back at Windows 7. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Any questions or comments? Feel free to ask them. Thanks for watching. Okay, as you saw, I had restored, or actually no, went back to Windows 7, but guess what was broken? Yes, Windows Media Center. It was broken. So I am literally restoring back to the system image I created before Windows 10. So anyways, yeah, isn't that wonderful?